girl gang, it's Dr. Joy here, and you are watching Delivering Joy MD. Today I have a very special guest, and that's Kristen, who has been a long-time member of my girl gang, one of my patients. And today we're going to be talking to you guys about something that I think a lot of people fear a lot, and that is cesarean delivery. So Kristen's had 2 C-sections, and we're going to kind of compare and contrast the 2 C-sections and kind of how things went. So make sure you keep on watching so you can get all of this great information. All right, girl gang. So let's talk about cesarean delivery. Dun, dun, dun. It's like one of the biggest fears, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, Kristen, you were a first-time mom when you had your first C-section.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about like what that experience felt like?
I can. With that experience, it was kind of like a scary moment because when you have a baby, you want to have your birth plan and what you want to do. And my birth plan was, even though I was induced to go natural, no medicine at all. But because of complications, I had to have an emergency C-section, and so it throws you off. That plan goes out of the window. So my fiance, he was he didn't seem worried, but I kind of picked up on it. He was. So when I went into the operating room, I didn't know what to expect. Nervous. So many things go through your mind through that moment because you're about to be cut open. But at the end of it, it was like, it was needed.
So in your case, your baby's heart rate was staying low, and we weren't able to get it to come back up with the usual measures like putting oxygen or turning you on your left side, and we just kind of kept having that. So what were you thinking about when you were like being rushed to the operating room?
Well, I was hoping that, my baby was okay. Nothing, she wasn't stressed out or anything like that. So when I got on the table, I was like, okay, calm down. I said a quick prayer.
That's always good.
Right.
Prayer
just
works.
Calm down. Everything's going to be okay. Ray, he'll be in a few minutes. And I knew I was in good care anyway because you're my doctor.
Oh.
So it kind of made everything easy.
So, and then like, in terms of what you had heard about C-sections or what you had read about C-sections or even what your expectations were, how did it compare to what you thought? Like
totally different. Because with the spinal block, people, they say, oh, it hurts so bad and things like that. Barely felt anything. It didn't take but 5 minutes for him to do it.
Okay.
So after that, I was like, okay, maybe this might be a breeze. And then when I laid down, I was cut up and all that. It was like I expected differently, but it wasn't what I expected.
So
what people said about it.
What were you expecting like when that happened? Like were you thinking?
Oh, you're gonna be able to feel the pressure. I didn't feel any pressure. Even when you pulled her out, I didn't feel anything.
Really?
Didn't feel anything.
Wow.
So,
okay. Well, that was a great spinal block.
Right.
I usually, when I'm getting ready to deliver the baby, I'm like, lots of pressure, Mom.
Yeah.
And because we're really literally pushing the baby out for you. And lots of moms will say they feel pressure, but you were just like chilling.
Anything. Literally. And the only thing I can say was I was worried about my breathing because you are numb from really the chest down. So I was laying there, I was like, okay, am I breathing? Right. Because I could feel it, but I was like, oh gosh, just calm down. You're okay. I couldn't move my arms because they were strapped down to the thing. So I was like, oh my gosh.
And the arm straps really, I feel like they're pretty much optional. However, in emergency C-sections, we often will do that because of, where's the first place that you put your hands when you're pregnant? On your belly. And so we put them there, and we don't make them tight or anything, but it's just there to remind you, don't do this. Don't hold your belly, because we're trying to make your belly as sterile as possible to keep you from getting infection.
Right.
So if you're having a C-section and you really don't want those arm straps, you just have to remember not to touch your belly, and no one's gonna strap you down unless, without your permission. So if you're like, no arm straps, that's okay. Just don't put your hands down there because we're using instruments and you can get hurt. So that's the purpose of that. So let's just talk about your recovery after that first C-section, because that was kind of an emergency. We weren't really expecting it. How did you do afterwards? What was that like?
I actually did well, better than I thought I was going to do, because I think maybe later on, that next morning, I was already up and walking.
Oh, okay.
So, pain level, didn't really have any pain. So, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think overall, it went well.
Okay.
Recovery.
And one of the things, Girl Gang, that I'm really passionate about is what's called enhanced recovery after surgery. And that's a protocol that really helps us prevent a whole lot of horrible post-op pain. Everybody's different in terms of pain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people really experience a lot of pain, and other people say, you know, I'm just a little sore, and other people, like Kristen, are like, hey, I was good, I'm ready to go. Like, so it really depends on your own personal pain tolerance, and also what kind of medications we're using. So one of the things that I like to do really is to use this enhanced recovery after surgery, or ERAS protocol, and that just kind of helps keep women very comfortable. And believe it or not, it's mostly just Tylenol and another Motrin-based medication called Toradol, and I use those two together. And then we use oral pain medicine if you have pain above what the Tylenol and Toradol covers. So that's something that I use, and I think it works really great. And so recently, Kristen had her second beautiful baby girl. So this time we decided on a repeat C-section together. Mm-hmm. And that was really because Kristen's family was expanding faster than what we normally do with a prior C-section. So we've talked a lot about what's called a trial of labor after cesarean. So Kristen and I had this discussion, and I told her, you know, I'm really concerned because the uterus where the baby is gets a scar on it when you have a C-section. And when it hasn't totally healed, you know, then you run the risk of that scar breaking back open. So that's why we usually like to see 12 to 18 months in between C-sections, so that it does give that scar time to heal. And then maybe we could have had a trial of labor after cesarean, but we ended up being just shy of that, or maybe right at that 12-month mark. And so we just kind of talked about it, and we felt like it was too much risk. Like, so we decided to go with the repeat C-section. So Kristen, like, what was the difference between emergency C-section for baby one and planned scheduled C-section for baby two?
The difference was going into it this time, I knew what to expect. Mm-hmm. I'd already been through it, you know, being cut open, the spinal block. I already knew what was going to happen. So I was more so anxious because I was ready to meet her. I wasn't really scared, anything like that. So I think this time was actually better than last time. Because it wasn't emergency. Right. It wasn't like, okay, emergency C-section. Right.
So yeah, so I totally get that. What was it like delivering during the coronavirus pandemic?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to say scared or even worried, but it's in a place in your mind because it wasn't expected.
Right.
You know, and when you're pregnant in a pandemic, it's like, okay, you can't go anywhere. You don't want to be in contact with certain people. So for me, I was at home 24/7. Didn't ever go to the store. My mom and my fiance, he went for me. Mm-hmm. So giving birth or having a baby in a pandemic, it's kind of like, okay, you run the risk of you don't want to catch it. You don't know who has it. You don't really know what it is,
right? Because
the news is saying so many different things about it. So it's like, okay,
yeah, I totally can feel that. And I really personally have been, you know, feeling for my moms because I know that you're afraid of getting it. Mm-hmm. What if I get it, you know, and give it to my baby? Like, there's so many things to think about. And then also the family support. What was that like? I mean, I know Ray is super supportive and super sweet, and, you know, was there like the whole time with his smiley face mask on, you know, and so he's definitely down for you. But normally, you know, like at our last delivery, you had mom coming up there, you had, you know, family and friends coming. What was that like to be just you and Ray, just the two of you against the world?
Yeah, I wanted my mom to be there, but I knew due to circumstances she couldn't be there. Even she knew that, but she wanted to be there. My sisters, they were like, "Can we come up?" I was like, "No, we can't have any visitors, just me and Ray." So it's kind of a I guess what's the word I'm trying to say? To not have your family, but to have your fiance there, not to have your family there. It's kind of like a sad moment, kind of, because you want them to be there, do that.
Yeah, so much joy. Like, everybody's excited, you know, they're like, oh, the baby's so pretty. And, you know, and so, so I wonder how some women do. And then, like, in terms of, like, obviously Ray is great, but there are a lot of dads that are a little nervous
Yeah.
about delivery and stuff like that. So I've had a few dads during this coronavirus pandemic who are just like, I'm gonna stay over here in the corner. That's all on you, girl.
Right.
So, you know, how was it making the decision between my mama, who I know is gonna be there, hold my hand through whatever, versus my husband who might pass out?
Well, I told my mom straight up, I was like, Ray's gonna be there, you know, because I wanted him to be there, and she kind of understood, you know.
And I get that, because that's like, that is the baby's father. This is the other person who helped to make this baby. So it's kind of hard to kick your partner out, but at the same time, you want your mama.
Yeah, you do.
You know,
but my mom, she understood, because even through like the first time, you know, they were my sister, my mom was there, because you know I was supposed to have it in the room, but due to circumstances, Ray ended up being in the delivery room with me. So.
Okay, good deal. And I think that that's very important support in like during your labor or during a schedule or emergency C-section. That support is huge. One of the things that I've been worried about is that my patients are not getting adequate support while they're in the hospital. So how did that feel for you in the days that you were at the hospital afterwards with just you and Ray and you know, the baby? Did you feel like you wanted to be more surrounded with people who love you and you know, want to be celebrated?
I actually did, because I did want my mom there. I want my sister there, both of my sisters actually, because my other sister lives in Gwinnett. But yeah, I did want them there to, you know, kind of experience that with me, you know, being able to see her, because even still, my other sister hasn't even seen her yet.
Wow.
Because she hasn't been down. So.
Wow. So what's it like being a mom with two babies at home every day, and then you're also like in school, right?
I am in school full time. So.
Whoa, okay. So what kind of adjustment was that for you, and how do you feel with having them both and trying to do virtual learning too?
Right. I'll say I absolutely love it. You know, I wouldn't change anything about it. Being a mother, it's rewarding because you get to watch them grow. They form their own personality. So, and my daughters, my first one, she is funny. She's so silly. It's amazing. But having to adjust, I didn't really have to adjust that much because she just turned 1, and then I just had my other daughter. So I was used to it.
Right.
It was my normal.
Already.
So right. So when my second daughter was born, it was like, okay, I already know how to do this. You know, I already have her schedule. My first daughter, her schedule down packed. So I knew what to expect just to fit her in. And then with school, I wasn't really worried about managing my schoolwork and then taking care of them because they're on a schedule. And I would work around their schedule to get my work done. So
right. Okay.
So I kind of.
Do you feel like you're getting enough time for Kristen, enough me time, enough just time to relax?
I would say probably not, because when you're raising 2 kids, you know, and that young, you're having to run after them, take care of them, you know, things like that. So, and then you have schoolwork, you don't really have much time for yourself. So I do have to find, like, even if it's 10 minutes, you know, if you go to the bathroom or you put them down to sleep, you're just reading a book in bed. You have to find time for yourself. That is key. Because if not, you know, some people, they may lose their mind. You may fall into postpartum depression, which I have not experienced. Praise God.
Thank God.
So, but you do, it is very important for you to find that me time, to not lose yourself, you know. So. And
I just think you do such a wonderful job. And I think part of that reason is you have such a great attitude about it. And I always tell my patients, attitude is everything. Things can happen to us, and we get to choose how we respond to it. Kristen is such a great, just a great mom, and she is a great student. We worked together for a while before she had her babies, and so she was always a great co-worker. So I just enjoy you so much, Kristen, and I'm so grateful that you were willing to share your story.
Of course.
Because I think that it helps to dispel fear. And one of the things we talk about a lot is just refusing to be afraid of the process and to embrace it. I love what you said about this was already my normal. It's just added, you know, I'm adding benefits on.
Right.
Tell me, did you decide to breastfeed?
I did decide to breastfeed. So.
Okay, how did that go? Was that?
It's still going good. I breastfed my first daughter up until about 7 or 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm breastfeeding my second daughter right now. So.
Awesome. So how did you work? How are you working out that schedule, like with baby number 1 still kind of wanting to be the baby, and then baby number 2 is like still breastfeeding?
Right. I definitely have to find, because I also actually do pump too, because with me being in school and having to take care of a 1-year-old, I have to find time to actually breastfeed her. And sometimes, you know, my first daughter, she'll be up whining, have to take care of her. So, and then when my second daughter is asleep, I normally breast pump then. So I try to breast pump around my schoolwork as well, because it can get chaotic. But like I said, it's my normal, so I kind of know how to take it as I go.
Right. And that is amazing, because I see a lot of moms that feel like, you know, if I have to go to work, if I have to go to school, I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Right.
And I tell them all the time, I see moms every day who are doing this, and I know you can do it if that's really what your desire is to breastfeed your baby.
Right.
And I think that's such a healthy choice, and the fact that you're making the sacrifice to still make it work, even though you've got so many balls that you're juggling in the air, is just phenomenal. So I applaud you for that. That is awesome.
And breastfeeding, it is hard work. I will say that. It is. It's like another job, because you have to pump, you have to breast, even if it's on demand, you have to get it done. Because, I mean, it's your baby's food. It's her nourishment. So it's what she needs. So.
And I just love Kristen. I love Kristen. I'm so glad we got to interview today.
I know.
And, you know, one of the things that we were talking a lot about was your C-section scar. The last time we had a C-section, I used the standard closure suture, and that's usually like a clear kind of plastic feeling suture that closes beneath the skin, and it caused a keloid. And one of the things that I've noticed in some of my African American patients is that they do keloid with that. So this time I decided to remove that keloid, and I closed with a different suture that's more of like a cloth feel to it, that's called Vicryl. And this time our incision looks awesome. So I was feeling real good about that, because one thing about me, I'm really big on closure. Like, I want my skin incision to look bomb. So I was really proud that that worked. And so sometimes if you notice that you keloid a lot, you may want to actually request that, because that does tend to do a little bit better with keloiding and with African American skin. So last question, Kristen, that it's been all over the news and all over the internet about Black women dying around the time of labor or birth. As a Black woman coming in for, you know, a C-section, how did those reports make you feel? What did you think about that?
It is something that I've definitely thought about, because we are at high risk and we aren't taken serious, you know, when we speak up about it. So it is something that I thought about constantly, even the second time, because it's like, okay, you don't want to go in and then you have certain complications where you don't come out, you know what I'm saying? In that situation, and seeing all the news outlets and even blogs or even posts on the internet, social media can be a huge downfall.
I think so too. I mean, there's lots of great information,
right?
But there's also lots of not so great information, and sometimes flat out lies on social media.
And if you get to reading, and it can start to deter you from what you really want to do. And so with Black women, Black African American women, and giving birth, and because we are at higher risk,
what do you think makes Black women higher risk?
That is a good question. Honestly, I really can't even say.
I can say, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, that I've been working on, it's racism. That makes Black women higher risk.
That is true.
It's not because Black women are more likely to have high blood pressure, or that they're more likely to have diabetes, or that they're more likely to be obese, or that they're more likely to not get appropriate prenatal care. Structural and institutionalized racism is the key to all of that. If I'm not coming to prenatal visits because I don't have good access to medical insurance, or I'm having a hard time getting pregnancy Medicaid started, that's an access problem. If I am obese, how do you know whether or not I have grocery stores close enough to where I can get to that serve fresh produce that I can afford to buy? If I'm more likely to have hypertension or diabetes, what about the stress of just living in a society where there are constant, micro and macro aggressions against Black people, or worrying about my husband who's out here working, and is he gonna make it home tonight without being, maimed or killed. There is so much stress, and Black women tend to have this thing called weathering, because we tend to just pick up and keep going, but it affects us.
It does.
It affects us. It affects our overall health. And so I think, I think that that's something that we have to, our country has to own, and that we have to start to fix. And so that's something that I've really been interested in, and I've been having conversations with women about it, because I know that it has, when you see this stuff in the news, when you read about it on social media, in your mind you have to be thinking, well, why me? Like, why am I more likely to die, or 3 times more likely to die than someone next to me who is a lighter skin complexion? So that's a big deal to me. So every time I have a chance to ask a Black mom about it, I ask, because I want to know what the perception is out in the community versus what I know to be true. And there's so much research on this. It's been coming out since the 80s. And we know about it, but we just have not done anything about it. So I want to be like #Black Mamas Matter, and certainly Kristen matters. I consider her not just my patient, but my friend, because we've known each other for several years. So it's a big deal to us. And you want, like we talked about in picking a provider earlier in this series, you want to pick a provider that you feel hears you. One of the things you said, Kristen, was when we bring things up, we're not heard. And I just want to make sure that if you are a mom out there and you have concerns, or you feel like something is wrong, that you don't stop talking about it until you feel like you're heard. And if that means finding another OB care provider, do that. But make sure that your concerns are heard, and that you understand what those concerns may mean, and if there's a treatment plan put in place, that you understand it. So your OB should be someone that you feel for sure hears you, respects you, and is interested in your concerns. So tell me about the girls, Kristen. How are they getting together? How are they starting to mesh together as sisters?
My first daughter, she was doing good, but now she's kind of getting like a little jelly streak.
Okay.
So every time, like when my fiance comes home, first thing she does, she sees him, she starts crying for him. So he has to pick her up. And then when he's spending time with my second daughter, which her name is Mckinley, she starts to get her jelly streak on. So she'll start whining and throwing her toys out of her playpen. I'm like, Taylor, just calm down. He's gonna let him have time with her. I'll play with you.
Taylor is not having it. She's like, wait a minute, I am the baby.
And she is a feisty little thing. So.
Oh, she's so cute.
She has so much personality already.
She is super cute.
But they're getting. Taylor, she's warming up to her sister.
Okay.
So she's kind of, because like,
she doesn't try to put her in a trash can or anything.
No, not yet. She does like to put her toys on her, and I have to tell her, she doesn't understand. You can't throw her yet. Right. So, but I'll hold McKinley up to it, and I'll say, you want to give her a hug, and she'll hug her. So it's so sweet.
Well, Kristen, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. We are definitely wanting to have more conversations with moms, and I thought you were a perfect mom to talk to, because you have such a great attitude and you always approach everything positively. I wish you the best in school. I know you're gonna kill it. She's doing like cybersecurity, so stuff that I would never understand, right? So she's just a wonderful person, and thank you again for joining us on our show today.
It was a pleasure.
And we hope to have you back soon one day.
Thank you.
Alrighty. We'll see you next time, Girl Gang. Make sure you put your comments and questions below, and me and Kristen will try to answer them for you. And we hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe and share this info with someone who can use it. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
See you soon, Girl Gang. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below.